Today's speaker is Alonna with Promote Local.
Hello, everybody. So glad to be here. It's Valentine's Day. If you're watching this on the day that we're doing the presentation, if you're on the recording, but social media addiction, is it real and how to set boundaries, right? So for Valentine's Day, I'm thinking we're going to realize we have an addiction and we're going to do something about it for ourselves because let's be real, most of us are at least mildly addicted to technology, at least a little, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody's kind of nodding their head. That's on the camera. So first, we'll just start with some basic definitions. What is social media? I think we all know kind of generically what it is, but they're websites and applications, so apps on your phone that are used to help people connect and create and share content, which is kind of depicted by the image I have on the screen here, which shows a bunch of little people being connected by all these different lines. So there's me passing stuff to Sydney, passing stuff to Ramsey, passing stuff to everybody that we're friends with on social media. So that's where the social part comes in. So websites for being social, essentially. What addiction? Again, I think we all kind of know what that is generically, but it's to be physically or mentally dependent on one specific thing, and then having the inability, so you feel like you can't stop, you can't not do it. How many of us feel like, we're just like on our phones, you can't stop picking it up? Have anybody ever looked at their screen time thing that tells you how many times a day you pick up your phone?
I try not
Have you
to
guys
look at it.
I know. I try not to look too, but sometimes you have to look to reframe it for yourself to just be like, oh, okay, this is the reality, right? Like, I didn't even realize I was picking my phone up physically 300 times a day or whatever it is. So it's a crazy number sometimes. So, in relation to social media, folks are often mentally dependent on it for many reasons, including the most widely recognized, so it would be low self-esteem, personal dissatisfaction, depression, or hyperactivity. For me, since we're doing this in the spirit of transparency, I find myself reaching for social media when I'm bored, right? When I'm in an uncomfortable social situation. So, say like I'm standing in line and there's a group of friends in front of me that are all talking to each other, and a group of friends behind me that are all talking to each other, and I'm like the awkward person in the middle. I usually am like, oh, let me pull out my phone and like look like I'm doing something, right? So that you're not in that uncomfortable situation. Work. I do a lot of work on social media. I know that some of you do as well. And self-comparison is another big one for me and a lot of people. You're scrolling, you see that maybe Jen got a new job, and you're like, oh man, I wish I could get a new job in Denver or wherever it is that Jen's getting her new job. And then another big one being the SAD, seasonal affective disorder. As people in Wisconsin, I think all of us are low on the vitamin D scale because it's cloudy, like you said when we first got on, and the sun is not here, and we're all just like, it's sad. You guys can relate to that?
Yeah.
Yeah, at this point of winter, I'm like, where's the sun? I need some. So
It's been
those
like
are,
fake spring lately, so because I like know it's not spring, but it's been like near 50.
I know. And then it makes it even worse because it's like false hope. So those are the biggest things for me that kind of trigger that feeling of addiction to that social media, or that draw to want me to grab my phone or my computer and escape. So for you guys, what times of day slash of the year do you feel that you struggle the most with social media addiction, dependency, if we don't want to use the word that you're totally addicted, but that you feel the draw to use it? So times of the day or times of the year.
I think a lot of people struggle with it at night because during the day I have the excuse of, well, it's not really an excuse, but I am working because a lot of my jobs need me to be on there and posting stuff.
Mhm.
So, but like at night, there's really, unless I'm really working at night, but like sometimes when you're watching TV, you'll pull out your phone. Like, why?
Anybody else want to? No, that's okay. I think at night is totally valid. The other one I hear a lot from a lot of people is right away in the morning. So before they even get out of bed, they're grabbing their phone and either like checking the news or checking Twitter or scrolling on Facebook or whatever that looks like.
This is Ramsey. I'm barely on social media because I have limited use of my hands,
Mhm.
and it's a bit anxiety provoking. So I'm not really on it, but that's kind of intentional because I, I, I even with that, I struggle with a lot of depression and stuff. So
Mhm. Yeah, I think the world as a whole, right, is affected by social media in positive and negative ways. So kind of being intentional about it, like you said, is good, I think, especially if you can recognize about yourself. Like me, I definitely have a nature to be anxious, right? And scrolling on social media often makes me more anxious. So I will say at those times, I'm like, okay, we can't go scrolling on social media. You got to get up and go for a walk or do something else, because even if it's for work, like Sydney was saying, it's still like sometimes you're posting and then you see something and you click on it, right? Like, and then you're like, oh, no, what am I doing? It's been 15 minutes and I've totally gone off course.
Yeah. I
So,
mean, I think they call it like doom scrolling or something.
yes, doom scrolling for sure. Yep. So which apps or platforms, websites do you guys find most addicting?
none
The
of them,
easiest.
because I'm on, I'm on Facebook, but I, I can't use it because I'm not, I, I have limited use of my hands, so um, um, I find it irritating, so I can't use it.
Yeah. I think this is like a tie between Facebook and LinkedIn.
Yeah, I think so. YouTube technically is considered a social media as well, which I think a lot of people find easy to, what's the word? Consume bingeable content. So to sit down in front of your computer or your phone and just like watch YouTube videos for hours, that would be another form of this. So most commonly addictive, TikTok right now is the biggest addictive form of social media because there are these short form little tiny videos that just play on an endless loop and you can scroll and another one comes up forever. Um, so they're mindlessly entertaining. And these videos are either funny entertaining or educational entertaining. So that's kind of what keeps people going back, is the fact that one can be funny and then the next one can be educational.
I think you are muted.
No.
Oh, nope. There you go. Um, so that's one of the biggest ones right now that I think is totally invading the brain space of many people. They're saying now that our attention spans have gone down to 7 seconds, which if you're still paying attention to me, good job, because I've been talking for longer than 7 seconds, so you can give yourself a pat on the back. So Facebook would be the second one, like Sydney mentioned, because it is one of the most used platforms across all ages and all different walks of life. There's people viewing different things on there all the time. So 74% of adults in the population of America are on Facebook on a daily basis, which would not have been the case 10 years ago, 15 years ago, whatever, explanation you want to use. And then Instagram is a hub for cultural influence, which is shown to have the same effects on your brain as gambling or using a slot machine, which I thought was very interesting because, as most of us know, that is also addictive. There are numerous people out there with gambling addictions, and that would be the same part of your brain that you're using when you're scrolling on social media. So for me, I think that TikTok is probably most addictive right now because I'm doing a lot of work over there in the short form video world. So it's like, well, I'm doing market research, right? I'm working, watching videos to know like what's popular, but at the same time, you're in an endless loop and time just passes and it's gone before you know it. And for me, what times is that most addictive would be the relaxing time. So I'm either sitting on the couch or I'm in bed and I'm just like doom scrolling, as we said before. Instagram, I think, is also another one because it's easy to click in and out of the app several times a day. Like I said before, standing in line, waiting for my coffee to brew, whatever, those things may be. TikTok is harder because if you don't have the sound on, right, you like aren't getting as much from that video as you are just by clicking into Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn and just viewing photos. Okay, so why is social media so addicting? We kind of touched on this a little bit. So the dopamine signal, which is the feel-good hormone that makes you happy, is increasing in your brain as you're scrolling. So your brain is identifying this activity as rewarding and saying, this is something we should repeat. This is something we should repeat, which is very similar to the slot machine thing that we said before, because you're having reinforced positivity, right? So your brain is like, this makes me feel good. This makes me feel good. Let's do it endlessly until it makes you feel not good, which is where the addiction part comes in. But there is a light at the end of the tunnel. We've got this little guy standing here in this tunnel and he can see the light, and I think we can see the light too. This is not all doom and gloom for all of us here watching today.
What title? Wait, what
Yeah.
tunnel are you talking about?
So light at the end of the tunnel being a happiness at the end of our addiction. We don't have to be addicted to social media forever. That being the tunnel. The light being how we can change that. So I've got a few steps and I will send this PowerPoint to Sydney so that she can share it with all of you. But there are a few commonly known tips across the internet is where I did my research, which is just like, basically also a form of social media addiction. So you can delete your apps from your phone if you don't want to delete them, or you can't delete them because maybe you use them for work or for advocacy or something like that. I have linked 2 videos for how to set time limits on your phone so that it'll automatically like lock that app after you've scrolled for 2 hours or something like that. And you can put in your password to unlock it, but having to unlock it is a good trigger for your brain to say, hey, maybe I shouldn't be going back onto Instagram or back onto Facebook because I've already spent so much time on here today. So there's links for those 2 videos on the PowerPoint. Another one that people say you can do is reorganize your home screen often. So putting your apps on your phone in different places so that you have to think about where it is that you're navigating to on your phone, as opposed to just all of a sudden you open it and you're on Instagram or on LinkedIn or on Facebook without even thinking about it, because the first thing you did when you opened your phone was select that website or your computer, either way. So the other way, replace this bad quote unquote habit with a good quote unquote habit. So maybe that means taking up a new hobby Or if you like to read, you could put the library or the Kindle app on your phone in the spot where whatever your most addictive app was before, or you could put a brain, like a puzzle game there or something that you find rewarding. Another option would be to take up a non-techie hobby. Sydney, maybe for you, that's like your chickens, right? Or you're checking on your pets. For
Yeah.
me, I like to knit. So if I want to just set my phone down, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go work on making a pair of socks. So whatever that thing is for you, that is a great one to put there. Maybe it's listening to podcasts or audiobooks, whatever it is. It's totally for you. And then the last one is to place your phone on the other side of the room when you're doing tasks that you want to be giving your full attention, like working or preparing for bed. Just putting it out of reach and out of sight, out of mind, right, is one of those tactics that can be really helpful here. Any questions anybody have about these steps?
No, I think they're very helpful though.
It's good to just think about, right? Because they're all pretty basic things that we kind of know we can do. But when you remember, oh yeah, if I just reorganize my home screen, I won't click directly into LinkedIn every time I open my phone. That might be good. The next kind of biggest step that people do is to do a social media detox, meaning that you take a set number of days, whether that be a month, a week, 15 days, 10 days, whatever, and you say you're going to go without social media. You're not going to open it at all for those set number of days, and you try to do it. So this will help you prioritize your mental health, doing different activities, maybe like meditating, reading, journaling, or another non-tech hobby like we talked about before, going outside, stretching, whatever. And also help you prioritize your physical health. Take time outside, walk, exercise, movement, whatever this looks like for you, whatever that is, and reward yourself at the end of completion of this project. So I just wrote a few ideas, and I think we could share to something that you guys think would be a good reward for you individually if you did a detox project. So maybe you buy yourself a treat from your favorite bakery, or you get a new board game that you've been wanting to be able to play with your family and friends. You get a new water bottle, or you get a new tool or a new piece of equipment for your non-tech hobby. All right, so if everybody who feels comfortable wants to kind of say what they think they feel would be a good reward for themselves, that would be cool.
I don't know, food, candy,
Candy, what kind of candy do you like?
chocolate.
I like sour gummy candy, so I would be like, oh, I can have a bag of gummy worms. Mira, would you like to maybe share? Ramsey, Jordan? Looked like Ramsey unmuted there for a second. I wasn't sure if we were going to hear from you. All right, well, if anybody thinks of anything, they can raise their hand or put it in the chat, whatever. So what steps do you think would help you reduce your dependency on social media?
Maybe, well, sometimes I do. Sometimes it's like putting my phone across the room when I'm working. Because I mean, I'm on my computer working, so I don't really need both open. My phone and my computer.
Right. Yep. I think that's a great one. I think the other thing that for me really helps is to look at those numbers like we talked about before, like checking my screen time to see how many hours did I spend on my phone? How many times did I pick it up? Those kind of jarring things are like, ooh, I gotta put this back into perspective. And that just helps me realize how often I am utilizing social media and technology in general.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody have any questions, comments, discussions they'd like to have about this topic?
Oh, it's an important topic. I feel like not wildly talked about at all.
Mhm. And like we said before, I think just thinking about this is a good way to celebrate Valentine's Day.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard for me sometimes just because I use it for work, but I mean, there's ways around it. Looks like Jordan raised his hand.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry I joined the cast a little late, but I, as each self-advocate is, I think we're all pretty much addicted to certain more apps than others. For me, it is Facebook because I have a lot more um, um, things on there. Probably the least one I go on is Instagram, but I still go on it for I have I have to do it. I have to manage some accounts for some organizations. So, like you said, it's pretty. I mean, I would say I don't spend that much time on it, but right
Mhm.
now I just got I just had surgery, so I probably spend more time on it than I normally do because normally I work uh uh like a 40-hour uh job plus advocacy, so I
Mhm.
don't really have that much time for it. But like you said, like I put my iPad because I use an iPad to go on. I put my iPad way against the wall, and my mom and dad, I can't get out of bed right now, so it's pretty good when I go to sleep. I don't worry about it that much, but I just appreciate you having this discussion because I mean I know I joined a little late, but it's a valuable discussion that we need to have.
Mhm. Yeah, thank you for joining us. Even if you joined a little late, that's totally fine. And I really appreciate hearing your perspective. I think, yeah, there are times in our lives where we utilize it more because we have more time, like you said, and it's easy entertainment. But realizing the feelings that it's giving you and saying, oh, like Ramsey said before, it's generally giving me a negative feeling. So I don't want to give myself that negative feeling. And taking steps to step aside from it is really a good idea. So yeah, thanks for sharing, Jordan.
You're welcome.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many ones out there. There's some I don't use very frequently, but I've recently got involved with LinkedIn. And I mean, once you start following certain people and they post really good content, then you're scrolling LinkedIn too.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's some people that are on LinkedIn, but they're not on Facebook. So it's like you need to check both.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. And I think the other thing that we didn't talk about that is a useful technique as well is if you do, say, I know that somebody's going to be posting, you could set times aside in your schedule to say, I'm going to scroll for a half an hour. All right. I didn't see who raised their hand first, Mira or Jordan. So Mira, why don't you can start.
Well, I didn't lower mine. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
What's LinkedIn?
LinkedIn is a social media platform that is a little bit more professional. So it's kind of more for jobs or networking or learning things that will educate you as opposed to entertain you.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Right.
I've also found that LinkedIn is probably one of my top two, because I do have multiple jobs and I have a lot of coworkers that use LinkedIn. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's just a nice. It's kind of like Facebook in a way. Like it gives you different skill sets to like boost your job. But I never take those. But I always like looking at what you can do to boost your profile.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and like we talked about before, um, in a previous talk that we did about LinkedIn and professional social media, it's a great place to connect with people, right? To kind of keep tabs on everybody in your life. So, you wanted to add me on LinkedIn after today, then you would be able to reach back out and have contact with me in the future. And I think that that in itself kind of has an addictive tendency because you can feel like, oh, I have to keep up, right? With like connecting with all of these people. Like Sydney said, once you start following a certain amount of people who post good stuff, you want to keep consuming what the good stuff is that they're posting. So
Yeah.
that in itself is a little addictive. Yeah.
Yeah. I've kind of figured out though, like if I post on my disability advocacy page, I can copy that content and put it on LinkedIn. So it's not
Mhm.
really as much work. It's kind
Yes.
of cheating, but
No, no, no. It's totally, I think it's valuable to remember that not everybody is everywhere, right? So it's good to kind of connect with different kinds of people or different people in general in different places. And especially when you're sharing advocacy stuff, just share it widely because it's important. I had to put Tonka in his kennel to take a nap because we went on a walk before this. So he was like,
Ah, yeah, I got her a huge cat tree to hopefully avoid these problems, but you hear certain people and it's like,
mm-hmm. All right. Does anybody else have anything regarding this topic that they'd like to chat about before we wrap up? That's all I got. I know I was a little short today, but
yeah, it was good though. Yeah, Cindy and Nathaniel weren't gonna be able to be on, so it's just me today.
that's no problem. No problem. Like I said, I will send Sydney the PowerPoint so that she can get it out to everybody if you're interested in that. And my email is at the end. So if you think of a question after this that you'd like, a little advice about or just to chat more about, feel free to shoot me an email and I'm happy to
Sure.
chat about anything.